Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel. Today, I want to explain something that I think is a huge and super complex debate happening online right now. It's all about how we talk about mental illness. This is a conversation that genuinely affects millions of people, and it is filled with so much nuance, so much passion, and as we're going to see, some very real dangers that are really worth understanding.
So you've got two main camps, right? On one side, there are people who truly believe that framing their struggles in a more artistic or even beautiful way, well, it's a vital coping mechanism for them. But on the other side, you have experts and a lot of folks with lived experience who are sounding the alarm, warning that this is becoming a really dangerous trend. So today, we're going to explore that super fine line between healthy destigmatization and harmful glamorization to really get what's at stake here.
All right, so here's our game plan for today. We're going to start by looking at the argument for romanticizing, as a coping tool. Then we'll get into how social media has basically poured gasoline on this whole thing. After that, we'll dive into the very real dangers, try to figure out the difference between destigmatizing and romanticizing, and then finally, look for a path toward a healthier balance. Okay, so let's jump right into that first perspective. The argument here is that what we're all seeing online isn't some brand new, scary trend. Not at all. It's actually a deeply human thing that we've been doing for, well, forever. It's this idea of using art and stories to process pain and just make sense of our suffering. This Reddit user, green_carnation_prod, just captures this idea so perfectly. I mean, think about it. If you have a long-term illness, constantly focusing on the raw, ugly, painful reality of it, it's just exhausting. It can crush your spirit. So from this point of view, reframing that experience into something more poetic or aesthetic, it's not about being in denial. It's about survival. It's a way to make the unbearable, well, a little more bearable. And this is so crucial. It can lift that heavy weight of shame that so often stops people from even admitting they have a problem, let alone asking for help.
And this perspective has some serious history to back it up. Think about it. The earliest cave paintings, they show the glory of the hunt, right? The big win, not the fear or the gore or all the times they failed. Throughout all of human history, art has been one of our main tools to process the hard parts of life and find some meaning in it. The only thing that's really different now is the medium. The internet and social media have basically given everyone their own public cave wall to paint on, making this ancient coping strategy available to a whole new generation. But, and this is a huge but, the internet changes everything. Let's move on and see how social media takes this behavior and just amplifies it, turning what might be an individual coping mechanism into this huge, complex, and sometimes really dangerous social phenomenon that can reach every corner of the globe.
Okay, this number it's staggering, and it really sets the stage for the problem. Social media, especially a platform like TikTok, has become the go-to source for health information for so many young people. A survey found that almost a third of Gen Z have actually self-diagnosed a mental health condition just based on content they've seen online. And look, for some, that might be a good first step towards getting real professional help. But it is an absolute minefield of misinformation, where all the nuance gets lost and these super complex conditions get boiled down to a 30-second video. And this is where things can get particularly dangerous. Platforms like Tumblr, or those algorithm-driven feeds on TikTok and Instagram, can create what we call echo chambers. These are basically these closed-off online spaces where one specific viewpoint, like, say, the romanticization of an illness, just gets repeated and reinforced over and over and over again. So instead of getting a reality check from different perspectives, you can find yourself in a space that not only says your suffering is valid, but actually glorifies it, making it that much harder to find a path toward genuine recovery. Another huge part of this online culture is this whole rise of the literally me character. You've probably seen it. We're talking about fictional characters, usually from really dark movies like Joker or American Psycho, who have these profound mental illnesses. But online, their pain and all the destructive things that happen because of their actions, that stuff often gets stripped away, and they get turned into an aesthetic, this cool, detached, misunderstood anti-hero. Impressionable people might start to really identify with them, maybe even adopting some of their traits without ever understanding the debilitating reality of the disorders these characters are supposed to have. And this brings us to the real-world consequences. This online portrayal can have some really devastating impacts, not just for people who might be misinformed, but especially for those who are genuinely struggling with diagnosed conditions. This quote from Reddit user Tanglekelp is just, wow, it's so powerful because it captures a feeling that so many people have. When your daily exhausting struggle with executive dysfunction, emotional dysregulation, and just trying to focus is turned into a quirky superpower online, it doesn't feel supportive.
It feels like someone's invalidating your entire experience. It minimizes the very real pain and frustration, and it creates this weird pressure to be the fun or creative kind of neurodivergent, and it makes you feel like you're not even allowed to complain about a disorder that is profoundly impacting your life. And this feeling of frustration, it is completely backed up by data. A study looked at ADHD content on TikTok and found that a shocking 52% of it was medically misleading. Over half. That's just wild. Only a tiny fraction, just 21%, was actually high-quality, useful information. The rest was personal experience, which, can be valuable, but it's often presented without any context, like it's a universal truth. So you have people forming their entire understanding of a complex neurodevelopmental disorder from content that is, more often than not, just plain wrong. And I think this just illustrates the core disconnect perfectly. The online aesthetic might be a collage of edgy, cool-looking images, but behind all that is the messy, painful, and often totally invisible reality of living with these conditions. The image you see online is curated, but that internal struggle of overthinking, anxiety, and depression, that is a constant, uncurated battle that you can't just switch off. So the most important point here is that this glorification, it's not just harmless fun. It has serious consequences. It can make people see their illness as a core part of their identity, something to be protected rather than treated. It can turn a medical condition into a fetishized badge of honor. It also silences people who want to talk about the ugly, unromantic parts of their illness. And it sets up these impossible stereotypes like the autistic savant or the depressed creative genius, which can lead to intense self-loathing when a person's reality doesn't match that romanticized version. This brings us to the absolute heart of the whole debate. I think we can all agree that reducing the stigma around mental illness is a good thing, a necessary thing. But where is the line? How do we encourage open, honest conversation without accidentally tipping over into a glorification that causes its own unique set of problems? So let's look at the two sides of these online communities. On one hand, as a force for good, they can provide an incredible sense of belonging. For someone like social media star Bella Porch, who used her platform to work through PTSD, it can be a literal lifeline. It helps people feel seen, understood, and way less alone. But there's a real cause for concern. Critics worry that we're starting to pathologize normal human experiences, labeling everyday sadness as clinical depression. There are also real worries about a social contagion effect, where people might subconsciously adopt symptoms they see online, and of course, all the widespread misinformation we've already talked about. And we have to have this debate because these are not niche issues. According to the Pew Research Center, a massive 70% of American teenagers see anxiety and depression as a significant problem among their friends and their classmates. You could argue this is the defining health crisis for their generation, which makes getting this conversation right more important than ever. So, with all these competing ideas and all these valid concerns, where do we go from here? Is there a healthier way forward? Let's explore a really practical framework for finding a better, more constructive balance in how we think about our own struggles. One Reddit user, a disabled veteran with several severe mental health diagnoses, laid out this incredibly useful three-part model. The first way of thinking is catastrophizing. That's where the illness becomes an excuse for everything and you feel totally powerless. The second is romanticizing, where the illness is a noble struggle, which also conveniently helps you avoid true accountability. He argues that both of these are traps. The only healthy path forward is the third one, being realistic. This means you honestly acknowledge the very real limitations your condition puts on you, but you still take full accountability for your actions and how they affect you and the people around you. And this is that same user, King Patzer, summarizing his whole journey. He's a successful executive who has rebuilt his family relationships, all while managing PTSD, epilepsy, and bipolar disorder. And his testimony is that real progress, real success, and real well-being, they only came when he gave up both catastrophizing and romanticizing. He chose this path of radical, clinical honesty about his condition, accepting the good, the bad, and the ugly. And he says that's what changed everything for him. Ultimately, this whole thing really boils down to one crucial question. It's for creators, it's for people watching the content, it's for anyone just trying to talk about their own life. How can we create a space for vulnerability and for support without accidentally turning pain into a performance or into some kind of desirable aesthetic? That is really something for all of us to think about. Thank you so much for your time and for watching this whole explanation. I would love to hear what you think, so please comment down below with your opinions. And if you feel comfortable, share any experiences you've had. Also, definitely let me know what topic you think I should talk about next. And hey, if you liked this, please subscribe to my channel for more videos like it. And don't forget to click that notification bell so you get notified when I upload my next one. Have a good day, and bye for now.